All right, in chapter 22 of the book of Numbers, this is going to be a story that goes on for a couple of chapters. Some really interesting things that we're going to see in here. This is a sort of known story of the Old Testament, but not widely understood. So we're going to get into some fun stuff here. Now, like we talked about in the last chapter, Israel was just marching through several strong nations, like the Amorites and others, and just wiping them out. They keep coming out to fight against Israel, to destroy Israel, and Israel just wipes them out and takes over their lands. So they've done this several times. Now, excuse me, they come to another land, and the king of this land is named Balak, and he's worried. He's really worried about this. So a little bit of history, okay? Balak is part of the Amorites, and he worships Baal, B-A-A-L, the god. It was a very common god or idol to worship back then in helping the Amorites, and it didn't help the Amorites at all. So Balak's going, crap. Baal, our god that we've spent all this time worshiping and sacrificing to and doing things with, isn't helping at all. He's pointless against the Israelites. The Israelites' God is much stronger. So he decides he's going to appeal to the Israelites' God for help so that he can win against the Israelites. He wants the Israelites' God to turn against them, basically. So that's his plan. So let's get into this, how this works out. Balak offers money, cattle, and great honors to Balaam to curse Israel. Okay, Balaam, we're going to talk about who he is here in just a minute. The Lord forbids Balaam to do so. An angel opposes Balaam on the way. Okay, so there's this guy Balaam that we're going to talk about here in just a minute. Very interesting guy, very rarely understood person in the Old Testament, but plays a pretty good role in helping us understand this history. Verse 1, the children of Israel set forth and pitched in the plains of Moab on this side Jordan by Jericho. So they're near the river Jordan. They're not far from Jericho, which is the famous stories with when Joshua takes over the Israelites after Moses leaves. And so Balak, the son of Zippor, saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites. And Moab was sore afraid of the people because they were many, and Moab was distressed because of the children of Israel. And Moab said unto the elders of Midian, now shall this company lick up all that are round about us, as the ox licketh up the grass of the field. And Balak, the son of Zippor, was king of the Moabites at this time. So this is the Moabite land. So they talked a little bit about in the last chapter. They helped the Amorites. They were supporting the Amorites, but it didn't work so well for the Amorites. So now they're worried because now Israel's heading to them, basically. So verse 5, he sent messengers therefore unto Balaam the son of Beor to Pethor, which is by the river of the land of the children of his people, to call him, saying, behold, there is a people come out from Egypt. Behold, they cover the face of the earth, and they abide over against me. Come now, therefore, I pray thee, curse me this people, for they are too mighty for me. Peradventure I shall prevail, that we may smite them, and that I may drive them out of the land. For I wot that he whom thou blessest is blessed, and he whom thou cursest is cursed. So this Balaam guy basically is a really interesting character. So the Moabitess king Balak says this guy has a reputation of blessing nations and they thrive, and cursing nations and they diminish. Why is this? Why does this guy have some power? Is it some mystical power, magical power? What could be going on with this? And of course, the question is does he have the real priesthood to actually bless and curse people? That's the question. That's the question that we need to answer about this. So let's learn a little bit more. Now, it's difficult. This is from the Old Testament Study Guide. It's difficult to determine from the record whether or not Balaam was a true prophet of God holding the powers of priesthood authority. He lived in an area known as Aram, probably named after the son of Kemuel and grandson of Nahor, a cousin of Abraham. Haran, the place of Abraham's first settlement after he left Ur, was a seat for the worship of Jehovah and was also in Aram. Therefore, Balaam could have been one of the few scattered people such as Jethro, which is Moses' father-in-law, who held the priesthood and exercised its power. So remember when Moses was kicked out of Egypt, exiled, he was found by the daughters of Jethro at the well, and he helped save them from the I believe it was the Moabites. In fact, were destroying their land, killing their sheep, and scattering their flocks and things. And so he fought them off, and then Jethro blessed him, and of course he ended up marrying Jethro's oldest daughter. Jethro had the priesthood. Jethro was a righteous man. He wasn't a literal part of Israel, but he still had that right to priesthood as a different descendant of Abraham. So this is maybe Balaam is part of that tradition. Okay, so we've seen that instance with Moses' father-in-law where that is possible. So maybe that's Balaam. He's kind of like a prophet or a person with revelatory or discerning powers, and he has some priesthood to exercise authority, to act in the name of God, to curse and bless, and maybe he's just built himself up a local reputation in that area of experiencing that. So what's interesting, though, is regardless of the origin of where he came from, or even Jethro or anybody else, the Lord does raise up inspired men to all nations. See Alma 29:8 for more. So if there's people who are wanting to live righteously, God will prepare someone to work with them and help them have that priesthood authority. This is not an uncommon philosophy. Okay, so even the story of Joseph Smith is not uncommon. We see some similar examples of something like this, again, coming out even in the Old Testament. So that's who this guy is. He's somebody who has some possibility of priesthood, a possibility of knowing who God is, the God of Israel is, Jehovah, and how to communicate with him and receive revelations from him, and to ask him for favors like cursing and blessings and things. So Balak is reaching out to him, realizing, I need this guy to come help me out. I need him to help me to work with him and get his God to curse the Israelites. If we can get God to go against them, then we have a chance of winning against them, basically. So Balak's just doing whatever he can to save his bacon, basically. Okay, so let's see. Verse 7, and the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian departed with the rewards of divination in their hand. They came unto Balaam and spake unto him the words of Balak. So they came, they brought him stuff, rewards and things, to payment for Balaam to do his thing. Verse 8, and he said unto them, lodge here this night, and I will bring you word again, as the Lord shall speak unto me. And the princes of Moab abode with Balaam. So they stayed to hang out with Balaam. Balaam goes off to pray and to understand the will of God in this instance. Verse 9, and God came unto Balaam and said, what men are these with thee? And Balaam said unto God, Balak the son of Zippor, the king of Moab, hath sent unto me, saying, behold, there is a people come out of Egypt which covereth the face of the earth. Again, this is not a small group. They cover a couple miles, remember, to fill in an area. So it looks like they cover the earth in a way. Come now, curse me them. Peradventure I shall be able to overcome them and drive them out. And God said unto Balaam, thou shalt not go with them. Thou shalt not curse the people, for they are blessed. So there's the answer from God. So this is the same God of Israel that Moses is talking with, basically. So Balaam has a connection with prayer, with understanding of God himself, and God's going, no, they're blessed. So the same thoughts, okay, are coming through. This is the same God, same understanding of things. And Balaam rose up in the morning and said unto the princes of Balak, get you into your land, for the Lord refuseth to give me leave to go with you. That's not the message these guys want to take back. So I'm sure they're kind of worried about shooting the messenger when they get home. And the princes of Moab, verse 14, rose up, and they went unto Balak and said, Balaam refuseth to come with us. Verse 15, Balak sent yet again princes more and more honorable than they. They came to Balaam and said to him, thus saith Balak the son of Zippor, let nothing, I pray thee, hinder thee from coming unto me. For I will promote thee unto very great honor, and I will do whatsoever thou sayest unto me. Come therefore, I pray thee, curse me this people. Balak is pretty desperate. He's trying to get this guy to come help him, basically, and get this taken care of. And Balaam's like, the Lord said no. The Lord said no. What am I going to do? So he sends more people. So here's Balaam's response. Verse 18, Balaam answered and said unto the servants of Balak, if Balak would give me his house full of silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the word of the Lord my God to do less or more. Now therefore I pray you, tarry here also this night, that I may know what the Lord will say unto me more. So he's telling him, look, guys, it doesn't matter how much gold and silver you bring me. I don't care if you give me the whole kingdom. It's not happening because the Lord said it's not. But I'll ask God if he's changed his mind, or if there's more to understand about this. So he said, wait here, I'll go pray. Verse 20, God came unto Balaam at night and said unto him, if the men come to call thee, rise up and go with them, but yet the word which I shall say unto thee, that shalt thou do. So now God said, okay, you can go with them back, but you got to do what I tell you to do. So that's what's going on. And Balaam rose up in the morning and saddled his ass and went with the princes of Moab. So now they're going back. Okay, so let's get a little bit of backstory here. Verse 22, God's anger was kindled because he went, and the angel of the Lord stood in the way for an adversary against him. Now he was riding upon his ass, and his 2 servants were with him. So God's mad. Balaam has gone with them, and God's mad. Now we might look at this and say, well, why would God be mad? Because didn't God just say, go with them? Okay, that's what's happening here. Now, it's not so much that he's in trouble for going with them. Okay, so let's read a little bit more, because again, the interpretation or translation isn't quite giving us all the details. So let's read the rest of this experience to gain a little bit more insight into it. So now he's on his way. There's an angel of the Lord standing in front of him in the path. Okay. In verse 23, and the ass saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way and his sword drawn in his hand. And the ass turned aside out of the way and went into the field. And Balaam smote the ass to turn her into the way. So now, suddenly the donkey looks up and goes, oh my gosh, there's a dude with a sword in front of me. He's going to kill us. I'm going this direction. I'm not going into him. I'm going around him. We're going to go over here and get out of the way. So Balaam's sitting on his donkey, and also the donkey takes off to the side, and he's going, what the heck? What's going on, stupid donkey? And he whips him, hits him a few times, which is common, and get back on the path. Get back on the path. Come on, get out of this field. Let's go. Come on, get back here. So that's what's going on here. Verse 24, but the angel of the Lord stood in a path of the vineyards, a wall being on this side and a wall on that side. So now the donkey's kind of gone down this area near vineyards where there's a wall on either side. So they can't turn. And Balaam's like, come on, go. Let's get back over there. Let's get through this area and get back onto the road. And there's the angel of the Lord again in front of him with the sword out. Verse 25, when the ass saw the angel of the Lord, she thrust herself unto the wall and crushed Balaam's foot against the wall, and he smote her again. So the ass still tries to move. The donkey's going, oh no, I'm getting out of here, and runs into the wall, and his leg on that side, Balaam's leg, gets crushed. He's smashed up against that wall, basically. He's mad. He hits the donkey again. What are you doing, you stupid donkey? Come on, get back on this path. What's going on? He's probably just going, what is going on? This donkey's gone crazy. Of course, he doesn't know yet that there is an angel of the Lord standing in front of him. Now, this is an interesting thing to think about, okay? Because Balaam has this ability to pray to God and receive revelations and inspiration from God. But he can't see the angel of the Lord in front of him. If he has this discernment, this revelation, why can't he see the angel of the Lord? Most likely what's going on here is his mindset, what he's thinking in his mind, he's not thinking properly to receive revelation. He's thinking wrong. He may be thinking about the amount of wealth he's getting by going to Balak and doing this. So he might not be doing this for the same reasons God wants him to do this. That could be why he's clouded his mind and he's not focusing on spiritual things. He's probably more focusing on worldly things. And that has blocked his ability to see the revelations and the discernments that are right in front of him, literally right in front of him. So a lesson for us to understand in that is, of course, when are those times, look at your life and think of one of those times when you have actually stopped the Lord's ability to tell you things and to give you advice. How many times do you say a prayer and then basically go back to doing all the other stuff you've done, and you never give yourself time to listen to the Spirit, never give yourself time to understand God's words and what he's telling you? That's a common thing. Put in the comments what you think about that. In fact, I'd love to get your feedback on that. Okay, so let's learn what happens next to Balaam. So when, and verse 27, when the ass saw the angel of the Lord, she fell down under Balaam. The donkey's hit the wall, smashed his foot. He's hitting the donkey. The donkey's getting beat by her master and realizes there's an angel standing in front of us with a sword going to kill us. So the donkey just sits down. The donkey just, I'm done. I'm down. I'm getting on the ground here, basically. So Balaam's anger was kindled, and he smote the ass with a staff. So now he took his staff and he hit the donkey. He's probably pissed. He's probably thinking this donkey's gone crazy on him, and he doesn't know what's going on. Verse 28, though, this is interesting. This is this story right here is so unique to the scriptures. This is, I think, the only time we ever see this kind of story in here. So verse 28, and the Lord opened the mouth of the ass, and she said unto Balaam, what have I done unto thee that thou hast smitten me these 3 times? So the donkey's talking, okay? And verse 29, and Balaam said unto the ass, because thou hast mocked me, I would there were a sword in my hand, for now would I kill thee. That was his response to the talking donkey, okay? Okay, now this totally reminds me of a joke, all right? And if you've heard this joke, mention this in the comments. But there was a story of a first grade teacher. She was reading a book to the kids. It was Old MacDonald kind of book, and a lot of these kid books, they will personify the animals, so the animals will speak to the farmer and things like that. And the farmer had made a comment, and the cow had replied to the farmer. And the teacher turned to the kids and said, now, kids, what do you think the farmer said? Going along with this story. Well, this little kid in the back raised his hand, and so she called on him. He stood up and went, holy crap, a talking cow. Shocked. I mean, you got to admit, if you own an animal, and if that animal suddenly started talking to you in English, like where you could understand it, wouldn't that freak you out? Wouldn't you be pretty surprised at that? That would be so wild. That would be absolutely wild. Balaam's not fazed by the fact he's talking to his donkey, who's responding to him. We're not seeing anything in here that he's fazed over this. This is so crazy. So something that's interesting, I found out about this. Okay, this is a Old Testament study guide had a comment on this. The rebuke received by Balaam from an animal wrought upon by the Spirit of God is a singular event in history. Speculation on how the deed was accomplished is useless. Pretty much. It is certain that the beast spoke in a way understandable to Balaam. Other scriptures indicate that when animals are filled with the divine spirit and celestialized, they will be able to express themselves in ways presently denied them. You can find some quotes on that in Revelations chapter 4, verse 6 and 9, as well as Doctrine and Covenants 77, section 77, verses 2 through 4. So a little bit more information if you want to reference that some more. And Balaam is not recorded as showing surprise at this phenomenon, which circumstances led some to suggest that Balaam's mind was troubled because of his attempt to serve both God and Mammon. Had he been more thoughtful, the unusual behavior of his otherwise obedient mount would have caused him to look about to discover the trouble. Then perchance he would have discovered the angel's presence. The incident was sufficient to carry out the Lord's purposes, however. Balaam was shown that it was not the journey in itself that was displeasing to God, but the feelings and intentions he harbored. The entire incident seems to have been brought about to sharpen his conscience and sober his mind so that he would strictly speak only the word of God. So this is going along with like what we talked about here, is that he is not thinking spiritually minded. When his donkey goes crazy, what does he do? He beats his donkey. He's trying to figure out what's going on because he's not thinking about everything else going on around him. So while he's trying to serve God by going with him, he's probably thinking about the rewards he's going to get by going and talking to Balak. So he might be thinking about maybe even trying to curse the children of Israel, just to curse them so he can get paid, even though God says it's not going to work. Because if it doesn't work, Balak's dead. Oh well, he gets paid. So he could have that going on. And he's probably so mad. And we see this, like road rage incidences or things. Sometimes people get so mad that logic defies them. They just don't follow along with stuff. And bad things happen when that occurs. So now in this story, of course, the donkey's talking to him, and so he's responded back. So the donkey's actually going to respond back to Balaam now. And he said, verse 30, and the ass said unto Balaam, am not I thine ass upon which thou hast ridden ever since I was thine unto this day? Was I ever wont to do so unto thee? And he said, nay. So that the donkey's like, look, have I ever treated you wrong in all the years that you have ridden me? Have I ever steered you wrong or caused problems for you? And Balaam's like, well, no. So then verse 31, then the Lord opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel Lord standing in the way and his sword drawn in his hand, and he bowed down his head and fell flat on his face. So now Balaam is sitting there going, well, no, I guess not. I guess you haven't really done anything wrong. And then suddenly he sees the angel of the Lord there with the sword. And I'm sure that scared the crap out of Balaam. Went, oh my gosh, the angel, he's got a sword. Oh, this is not good. Oh my gosh, this is not good. Now he's starting to realize the donkey saw the angel. He was saving me from the angel by trying to get out of here. And all I did is beat my donkey. So the thing, again, this is a good perceptual idea for us to realize is that sometimes people have a different view of what's going on than we do. And sometimes we think they're hurting us, but they're actually trying to help us. So before we try to punish them for what we think they're doing wrong, we should take the time to understand what they're doing and why, because maybe it's actually for our benefit that they're doing it. That's a good one. Teach that to your kids, because that's a hard one for the kids. Sometimes as parents, we do things that our kids might see as not good for them, but when in actuality, it actually was really good for them. So especially with teenagers. So you could read them the story and say, look, I can see things, just like the donkey can see things different. I could see things different sometimes than you. So you need to listen better. That could help you out with parenting. If you've ever had that experience with your kids, which I'm sure you have, put that in the comments. I know we've had that too. Okay, so he fell flat on his face, which is again common. We saw Moses and Aaron doing that quite often when they were talking with the Lord. Now verse 32, the angel of the Lord said unto him, wherefore hast thou smitten thine ass these 3 times? Behold, I went out to withstand thee, because thy way is perverse before me. And the ass saw me and turned from me these 3 times. Unless she had turned from me, surely now also I had slain thee and saved her alive. So now the angel lets Balaam know what was happening. In verse 34, and Balaam said unto the angel of the Lord, I have sinned, for I knew not that thou stoodest in the way against me. Now therefore, if it please thee, I will get me back again. So now he's coming. He's like, okay, I'm sorry. Let me get my donkey and we'll get out of here. So verse 35, the angel of the Lord said unto Balaam, go with the man, but only the word that I shall speak unto thee, that thou shalt speak. So Balaam went with the princes of Balak. Now here's something that's important, how this is being phrased. The angel of the Lord is what we're learning about, but he's phrasing it as if it's the Lord himself that's talking, okay? This is a concept called divine investiture of authority. The angel is speaking in behalf of the Lord as if he was the Lord. The Lord gave him authority to represent him in this instance, basically. So that's important to think about, because it comes up again in a few other times we see in the scriptures. So just realize that. Okay, so now he goes with them to Balak. All right, verse 36, when Balak heard that Balaam was come, he went out to meet him unto a city of Moab, which is in the border of Arnon, which is in the uttermost coast. So coast usually means near oceans, river areas, things. So this could be maybe southern Iraq by the Persian Gulf, maybe down that way, or other places. Now, Arnon, remember, is a place where the children of Israel aren't going, basically, because that was a pretty fortified area. Verse 37, Balak said unto Balaam, did I not earnestly send unto thee to call thee? Wherefore camest thou not unto me? Am I not able indeed to promote thee to honor? So Balak's going, why did you take so long to come? I gave you all this riches. Do you not realize what I can do for your reputation? I can promote you and exalt you and make you better. So again, this is a worldly idea. He's using worldly things to get worldly results from a guy who's speaking to God. And God is saying, you're not going to respond to the worldly stuff. You're responding to what I want you to say. So don't succumb to the worldly temptations and ideas. Do what my will is. Okay, oftentimes God's will is different than what man's will is, and we have to understand that difference. And that's okay to be different, that we should follow what God says, not what man says. So, verse 38, Balaam said unto Balak, Lo, I am come unto thee. Have I now any power at all to say anything? The word that God putteth in my mouth, that shall I speak. So he comes to Balak and goes, look, I have come to see you, but I can't say what you want me to say. I can only say what God tells me to say. So reminding him, God's the one in charge here, not you, basically. Verse 39, and Balaam went with Balak, and they came unto Kirjath Huzoth. And Balak offered oxen and sheep, and sent to Balaam and to the princes that were with him. And it came to pass on the morrow that Balak took Balaam and brought him up into the high places of Baal, which is the god that they worshipped, and thence he might see the utmost part of the people. So it's a higher area. They usually put altars at the top of a hill so you can see it. You can see around it and see the people. So they're going up here to these places of worship of an idol, again, so they're high up, they can see the people. So we're going to get in the next chapter what happens next in this story. So watch that next video.